Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Sangeeta Mehta and you're watching my channel, My English Magazine. This is MA 4 semester English summary and analysis of Ronald Barthes and the death of the author. The death of the author is an influential 1968 essay by the French literary theorist Roland Barthes. But what does Barthes mean by the death of the author? This important short essay was crucial in the development of post-structuralist literary theory of 1970s and 1980s, as many English departments, especially in the United States, adopted Barthes' ideas. This is the latest video. Now I explain to you. Let's take a close look at Barthes' argument. In this essay, you can read the death of author here. Before proceeding to our summary and analysis, or the death of the author summary, Barthes begins the death of the author with an example taken from the novel Sarrasine by the French novelist Honore de Balzac. Quoting a passage from the novel, Barthes asks us who speaks those words, the hero of the novel or Balzac himself. If it is a Balzac is the speaking personality or on behalf of all humanity, Barthes' point is that we cannot know writing. He boldly proclaims is the destruction of every voice, far from being a positive or creative force. Writing is in fact a negative, a void where we cannot know with any certainty who is speaking or writing. Indeed, our obsession with the author is a curiously modern phenomenon which can be traced back to the Renaissance in particular, and the development of the idea of the individual and much literary criticism. Barthes point out is still hung up on the idea of the author as an individual who created a particular work. So we speak of how we can detect Baudelaire, the man in the novels of Baudelaire, the writer, but this search for a definite origin or source of the literary text is a wild goose chase as far as Barthes is concerned. He points out that some writers such as the 19th century French poet Stephen Mallarmé have sought to remind us through the works that it is language which speaks to us rather than the author. The other should write with a certain impersonality. Writing is done by surprising the author's personality in order to let the work be written, moving away from our traditional idea of the author. Barthes begins to capitalize the word as if to draw a parallel with a higher entity like God can help us to see the relationship between writer and text in new ways. In the traditional view, the author is like parent who conceives the text rather as a parent conceives a child. The author thus exists before the novel or poem or play and then creates that literary work. But in Barthes' radical new way of viewing the relationship between the two, writer and text are born simultaneously, because whenever we read a literary work, we are engaging with the writer here and now rather than having to go back 400 years to consider Shakespeare. The Renaissance author Shakespeare as a writer exists now in the moment we read his works on the page. In the 21st century, writing is a performative act which only exists at the moment we read the words on the page, because that is the only moment in which those words are actually given meaning, and they are given their meaning by us who interpret them. Instead, then, we should think of not the author but the scripter. We shouldn't view a work of literature as a kind of a secular version of a sacred text where the author is a god who has imbued the text with a single meaning. Instead, the literary text is a place where many previous works of literature blend and clash, a host of influences and allusions and quotations. Indeed, none of them, Barthes asserts, is original. Instead, the text is a tissue of quotations. Barthes concludes the death of the author by arguing that imposing an author on a next actually limits that text, because we have to view the literary work in relation to the author who wrote it. Its meaning must be traced back to the person who produced it, but writing for Barthes doesn't work like that. It's a tissue of signs which only have meaning when the reader engages with them. The meaning of a text lies not in the origin but in the destination, and that in order for the reader of the text to exist and have meaning as a term, we must do away with this idea that the author determines the meaning of the text. The death of the author analysis. The death of the author makes several bold but important claims about the relationship between author and literary text. The works of literature are not original, and that the meaning of the work of literature cannot be determined simply by looking to the author of that work. Instead, we as reader are constantly working to create the meaning of a text. Writing is the destruction of every voice, not the creation of a voice, which is how we tend to think of a creative art, such as writing. The literary text is not original either. Indeed, every text is a tissue of quotations. This may strike us as Bas overplaying his head. Surely, works of literature contain original thoughts, phrases, and ideas, and aren't literally just a string of quotations from existing works, but Barthes is interested in language throughout the death of the author, and the true that is every work of the literature, the works the author uses those raw materials through which meaning is created are familiar words and therefore not original, merely put together in slightly new way. The death of the author was a bold and influential statement, but its arguments had numerous precursors. His emphasis on impersonality, for instance, had already been made almost half a century earlier by T.S. Eliot in his 1919 essay Tradition and the Individual Talent. Although Eliot still believed in the poet as an important source of the written text, and in the mid-20th century, new criticism, particularly in the United States, argued that the text had meaning in isolation, separate from the author who produced it, and that searching for authorial intention in the work of the death of the author makes a compelling argument about the way a work of literature has meaning in relation to its reader rather than its author. We 21st century readers of Dickens are not the same people as the Victorians who read his work when its author was alive. For instance, words change their meaning over time and take on new resonance. So, the second point is that viewing a work of literature as a mere tissue of science threatens to put it on the same level as a timetable of a telephone directory. They too contain nothing but familiar words, names, and numbers, and are not original works of literature. May draw on familiar words and even familiar phrases, but great works of art put these words and signs into new combinations, and there is a virtually infinite number of those which can create new meaning for us. So we might view the relationship between author, text, and reader as a tripartite partnership rather than bipartite. One of three elements are important in creating the text meaning. It gives a poem to my students and don't tell them anything about its author. They can analyze the poem's language and try to determine its meaning. But knowing something about the author and their context may help to reveal new meanings which are important in understanding the text. As we know, a poem is by Swift Plath, and we can bring the detail of a life. So we do need to bear in mind who wrote a text and how that might be significant in creating its meaning, even if we also need to acknowledge but its meaning is also generated by those who read it. A short analysis of Swift Plath's works by Dr. Olive. So, this is the main points about the author which I explained to you. And now there are some more about author's death. I give that another video, another notes. All the notes are available on my blog, My English Magazine. There you can read and learn properly. MA English, full syllabus, first to fourth semester. I also explain the novels one by one, the stories of the novel I read here, and give the summary about all novels also. So I think My English Magazine, this is a very important and knowledge giving for all students, for those students who wants to gain the knowledge about MA English syllabus and MA English papers. So guys, you can take my notes from My English Magazine. Here you also found the grammar, the whole grammar topics also I explain in My English Magazine. That is the name of my blogger. That is also the name of my YouTube channel. And I am also on Wikipedia. My English Magazine, this is also found. This is also on Google, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. Thank you guys. My name is Sangeeta Mehta and you watching my channel, My English Magazine. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. I give the short to short notes. No, it is not very short. I give the complete notes for which is not necessary. Okay guys, thank you very much.